Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Mercy. I'm a pediatric doctor and I love to talk about sleep because, well, sleep is really important for children's health. And when children don't sleep, then the whole family is stressed. So today we're going to be talking about why children wake up a lot at night, at least some children, and the things we might do to help the situation. So, well, children could wake up for any number of reasons, but the main thing that I want to say at the outset is that waking up in itself is not a problem or is not abnormal. So it is normal for children to wake up at night. We know that when children go to bed, or in adults as well, everybody, when you go to sleep, you don't fall asleep and remain in the same state of sleep for the whole night. Our brains very clever. We go to sleep, we are completely awake and alert. Then we go to sleep and we fall slowly down into the deep state of sleep, so the deep sleep. Then at some point we will drift back into an awake state completely, and we continue with this cycle throughout the night. So from being completely awake into a deep state of sleep, at some point we come back to being awake, we go back again into a deep state of sleep, and we carry on through the night. As the night progresses, in older children or children that were out of their sort of infancy stage, they might not have all that deep sleep through the night, but you're still in the earlier stages of sleep, maybe a bit lighter, the dream state, and then still coming back to an awake state until you finally wake up completely in the morning. So it's really important to remember that waking up is not abnormal. There's nothing wrong with waking up. The challenge only comes when a child wakes up and they're either unable to fall back asleep completely, or it takes them very long to actually fall back asleep, or they need a lot of parental intervention to be able to fall asleep. We need to remember that sleep is a learned behavior, and if a child has never learned how to sleep on their own, for example, then they're going to struggle when they wake up at night, because they will still need whatever input is there at the beginning of the night for them to still be able to fall asleep at night. What I'm referring to is what we call sleep associations. So what is it that your child relates to sleep? So I think that will be the focus of today, sleep associations. So if your child sleeps in a brightly lit room, for example, or they've got white noise in the background, or they've got a parent in the room or in the same bed, or a sibling in the room, or they fall asleep on the sofa or in the car. So whatever it is that tends to happen around that time, if that's changed overnight, when your child then wakes up naturally as they do, then they're going to struggle to fall back asleep because the environment has changed, and they are more than likely going to come and try and find a parent to help them back to sleep. So think about a baby who maybe you pat to sleep, for example. When they wake up, you put out your hand and you pat them again, and they fall back asleep. If you don't pat them, they might continue to moan, but if you just pat them, they might fall back asleep quite quickly. So in the same concept, so I'm not talking about babies and infants here, because that's a different ballgame altogether. I'm talking about children in whom you would expect to be able to fall back asleep on their own. There are instances, of course, where some behaviors can be more difficult to manage because they might have they're neurodiverse, so maybe they've got ADHD or they're autistic. So all of that can also contribute. But sleep associations and thinking about them and thinking about what we can do to make things better relates to all children. Maybe how much of an improvement it gives you can vary depending on your child. So if you have got a light, if your child needs to have a light in their room, then instead of having a bright light, then think about having a red light in there, because we know red light doesn't affect the production of the hormone that helps us to sleep. So if they've got a red light, or at least a light that you can dim to the lowest setting possible, then that will help them, so that you don't have to turn it off when they're falling asleep. You just leave it on for the night, and they're then less likely to wake up and come and find you for the light, because where they might have woke up because the room was completely dark. Then do they need a transition object? So some families have found success by offering either a teddy bear or a blanket or something that the child enjoys to have in the daytime, and they have this at bedtime, something that they can have through the night as long as it's safe. So we're talking about older children here, so having a teddy in the bed or a blanket around them is not going to be unsafe for them. So something like that, and then that can also help to provide some comfort, and they're able to sleep better overnight. A regular routine and a regular schedule. So what I'm referring to here is sleeping in the same sort of environment every day, if you're able to manage that. So if your child is going to sleep on the sofa because you're watching TV, or they fall asleep watching TV and then you transfer them, or they fall asleep in your bed and then you transfer them, some families are lucky and those children will still sleep through the night and not necessarily wake up. But if your child is waking up a lot, then think about where they are sleeping. Are they sleeping at a regular time, or are they sleeping at random times every day? And are they also sleeping in the same space every day? If those things are not happening, then you might want to think about how you can improve all of that as well. Then the big one, co-sleeping. So co-sleeping is actually a parenting tool for some families, or it's how they choose to parent and live with their children. Some people have bought what they call family beds, so big king size beds, for example, depending on which part of the world you are, where they all sleep together with the children, 5, 6 people in the bed, and they all enjoy spending their time this way. And that's okay because that's what they've chosen. I'm talking about reactive co-sleeping, where either you sleep with your child because they will not fall asleep unless you're in bed with them, or they wake up at night, come into your bed, and then the other parent has to leave so that there's enough space, or you all then sleep together at that point, because it's much harder to have them back in their bed, or they won't sleep unless they're with you. So if you're in that category where your child is sleeping in your bed or you in their bed, and you don't really want that to carry on and you want to change it, then this is so I'm talking to you. So co-sleeping might have started maybe when they were little, they were breastfeeding, or whatever the scenario might be, and they've never then learned to have that opportunity to sleep on their own. And if they're older, then it's likely going to be much more difficult to manage, and you need to think and look and talk to your child and see if there's anything else that might make it harder for them to sleep on their own. Examples would include anxiety. So if they're worried about something at school, or if they're generally an anxious child, then they might struggle with bedtime and having to sleep on their own without a parent because of all the other worries that they might have. So looking into that, if you think your child has got some level of anxiety, then that's something you want to address. So, and there are various methods of doing that. We can talk about that, but main things would be getting them to either write down their concerns, or you talk about them in the day, or you can seek appropriate support if that's what you feel would be helpful for them. But coming back, so if they don't have any of these things and they're just a child who wants you in their bed, then you might do what's called gradual fading. So gradual fading is a gentler approach to sleep training, if you like. So sleep training, it relates to usually when children are younger and you're trying to help them to fall asleep on their own way. Maybe you put them down to bed a bit drowsy, so all of that. But we're talking about that age group where they are little and they are more amenable. They're not going to wake up and open the door and come to you. But if you've got an older child whom you can't just say I'm leaving you and you don't come in, they will wake up and come to you because that's what they want to do. If they need that comfort, you could choose to do this called gradual fading, which means some people call it gradual retreat, which essentially just means you might start off with them in the bed as you do, and then but the main thing is they need to be in their own bed space or bedroom or whatever you've got, but in their own bed space. Then you are with them. You could move to a floor bed for the first few nights, and once they're able to fall asleep for within 10-15 minutes of you being in that space consistently for several nights, you move on to maybe sitting in a chair whilst they fall asleep. And then once again they're able to fall asleep for 10 within 10 to 15 minutes with you in the chair, you might move to the door, so you go and sit by the door. And then again, once you've established that they can fall asleep within a short space of time, in under 20 minutes they're sleeping, then you could step out and sit by their door. So this essentially, you're just gradually moving away from being in bed with them all the time. I know I'm talking about this giving days and sort of weeks, but this could last for a very long time depending on how old your child is. If you're stuck in one stage, so maybe you've moved away from the bed, you've gone to the camp bed on the floor, or you're now in the chair and it's just taking very long and you're stuck there, you could opt to move back a little bit in your stages, and then again allow them to be comfortable, then you move on and you keep doing this, but it needs to be consistent. So if you do it today, say you give it, we're in January now, and then maybe you did this for a few months, and then you choose to, for some reason something happens and you have them in your bed, then you'd have lost out on all the progress you'd have made before. So that consistency comes back again. So essentially, today we've just talked about how children can wake up a lot at night. We know that waking up is normal, but when they're waking up for too long, more than 5 minutes, they're awake, or they're awake and then struggling to fall back asleep, and then that's when the problem arises, because they end up with what we call sleep fragmentation. Their sleep is no longer continuous, and they might then wake up tired, more irritable, and difficult behaviors. You start seeing all of that because they're not sleeping very well through the night. So if you want to try and fix this, then think about the sleep association. Where are they sleeping? How are they sleeping? And what are they sleeping with? What else is in the bedroom? See if you can make sure that whatever they have at the beginning is something they can have throughout the night. If they need if you are switching on the TV and it's got a light just for the sound, maybe switch to white noise instead, and take away the electronic device, remove the TV or the laptop or whatever, and then just leave a white noise device in the room, so that at least they've got that sound and you don't have to turn it off at night, and they can have it through the night. Then once the bedtime part is sorted, where they're sleeping in that space and falling asleep on their own, you will find that the nighttime wakings will also get better. So I hope you found this useful. Let me know in the comments if you try any of these tips and they work for you. And remember to like, comment, and also to subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye.